5 car maintenance tips for beginners that are guaranteed to save you money and help your vehicle get to 300 and 400,000 and maybe even beyond that. Let's get right into it. I'm a professional mechanic by trade, so I'm going to show you 5 things that we see as a mechanic that could have been prevented with just some simple preventative maintenance, and B, the things that I do as a mechanic for my own vehicles to make sure that they last longer. This Jeep behind me is at 250,000. I've been maintaining it since it had 50,000 miles, so it's important to me, it's special to me. I keep it running. I'm trying to get it to 500,000 and I probably will, but let me show you some of the things that I do for it. So number 1, and you're gonna look at me like, duh, everybody knows that, but it's more than that. So it's changing your oil, but not just changing your oil, it's checking your oil in between your intervals and changing it at the recommended intervals. So some manufacturers are saying nowadays with my engine and my oil, you can do 8,000 to 10,000 mile interval. Do not do that. Mechanics do not recommend that because it's not good for your vehicle. Oil breaks down as it's being used in the system, and once it breaks down fully, it's no longer actually doing its job and lubricating your system. It's just kind of going through there. So do not do that. Change it every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. Mechanics argue on which one is correct. I can see both sides of the argument. Me personally, I'm a 3,000 mile guy. That's what this Jeep has been its whole life. But if I had a newer vehicle and I was only using full synthetic, I might do a 5,000 mile interval. Beside that point, in between those intervals, you have 3,000 to 5,000 miles that most customers never pop their hood and never look at their dipstick. That is a big problem, and I've seen it cause a lot of blown up engines. I've seen it cause a lot of problems because if you let your engine run low, like even a quart on oil for too long, it really can cause problems. It can cause timing chains to go bad. It can cause your engine to blow up. It can cause a lot of problems, even with just a quart low in the direct injection vehicles or vehicles that have variable valve timing. Or I know that might go over a beginner's head, but basically what it means is your oil pressure is controlling your timing. Your oil pressure is controlling this, and once your oil pressure is low, it no longer has the ability to correctly control the internals of the engine, and it causes problems. So in between that 3,000 to 5,000, I recommend, like every other drive, every couple drives, just pop your dipstick, look in there. Mine, I'm at about a 1,500 mile interval right now since my last change, and it's honestly kind of dirty, so I'm probably going to do a change pretty soon. It's not too bad, but I don't like black oil. If it comes out clean, I know it's in there clean. So I'll probably do an oil change pretty soon. But yeah, that's my recommendation, is in between your intervals, check your oil, just pop your hood, do a quick look at it. It can save you an engine. It really can. I've seen engines fail a lot because of a leak that a customer didn't know about, that didn't present in the driveway. The oil got trapped in the frame, and then the engine ended up blowing because of it. So do yourself a favor, save yourself the money, and check your oil. And then number 2, while we're here, is your coolant. We've covered how to keep the internal of the engine lubricated and cool, but your coolant is what's actually keeping your entire system cool. So with mine, I just pulled my Jeep in here, it's warm. If your vehicle is hot or up to temperature, do not open this cap because it'll spray. But wait till it cools down, or open it really, really slow and you can hear the pressure leaving. And make sure your coolant's full. Keep your coolant overflow reservoir full. That would be this one. Make sure you don't put it in this one. That is windshield wiper fluid. That is coolant. The hot wipers. Not there. No. Right there. Okay, anyway. Number 3, and this might sound silly to some people, but to a mechanic it won't. So your tires are a direct picture of what's going on in your front end. So if your tires are wearing on the outside, it's telling you that either A, you're underinflated, overinflated, or you have a bad suspension part. Inside, same thing, overinflated, underinflated, or you have a bad suspension part. Middle means that you are underinflated. When you're underinflated, the outsides of the tire stick up because the sidewalls are harder and the middle of the tire goes down, and it'll cause weird wear. When just the middle is worn, it means it's overinflated, because think like a balloon. As you overinflate it, it stretches the middle. So beside that point, your tires tell a story about what's going on in your front end, and your tires also affect gas mileage, they affect how your vehicle is running, they affect driveline performance because they're the direct contact to the road, so they're what's delivering power to the road. So you want your tires to be very, very efficient. So what does that mean? You want them to be set at the correct tire pressure, and you'll find that right here. If you want to come over to your driver's side door, unless your vehicle is from a salvage yard, you will have a sticker, you'll have a sticker right there, or a sticker right here, or a sticker right there, And that sticker will tell you what your tire pressure is. Then you need to go to all 4 tires, set them at that correct tire pressure, because if they're not at the correct tire pressure, they can wear awkwardly, they can wear unevenly, they can wear the wrong way. And once they wear the wrong way, for one, you can't really fix them and you got to replace them. But for two, they're not contacting the road in the most efficient way possible. And they're actually slowing you down, dragging you down, and they will lose you gas mileage. They'll make your vehicle just force itself to run harder. So keep your tires good, keep your tires nice. It'll help with your gas mileage. It'll make it cheaper to drive, and it'll make your vehicle not have to work as hard to make you go forward. All right, number 4, and also a hugely important one on this vehicle. It's kind of in a terrible spot, so I'm not going to take it apart because I just replaced it, but it's your air filter. So all vehicles have an air filter. Some vehicles have a cabin air filter, but this air filter, your vehicle is drawing air in right here, right? This is where all of the air that goes inside your engine, that does all the work inside your engine. Your intake pulls all of your air in. So all of the air that's going into your engine is coming through here and traveling through your filter. If that filter is full, restricted, dirty, then your engine is getting a restricted airflow, and it's like choked. It's choked off. It's fighting for air to breathe. It's fighting for air to push it out the back, and it forces it to run harder to get that air, because your air filter is clogged. And I've actually seen air filters cause some crazy weird issues when they get really, really clogged and just don't let any air in. But keep it clean, make your engine. I am a big firm believer on making the easiest path for your engine, for your vehicle. So make it as easy as possible for your vehicle to drive forward and as easy as possible for your engine to run, and it will last longer. That makes it easier for your engine to run if it's clean. If it's not, then it doesn't. And I know most people probably go to the mechanic shop and get recommended an air filter every time. For one, they're generally dirty. They get dirty really fast because, like I said, they're sucking external air. So you're sucking all this air from right here, all the dirt, all the debris, all the everything that you hit when you drive is going straight through that air filter. So they do go bad fast, but they're just they're a quick fix that can keep your engine running better. So that's number 4. Replace your air filter. If not, replace it. Just check it out, and do not blow it out. Don't blow it out with the air gun. That's bad for them. That ruins the internals, and it makes the air filters not work anymore, and it will actually start letting that debris into your engine. So, air filter. Let's go to the last one. Number 5, the last one. It is going to be when to do it yourself and when to actually take it to the shop. So there is an opportunity cost to working on cars, and there is an opportunity cost to a parts cabinet. When to do it. So, in my professional opinion, anybody can figure out how to do brakes. Anybody can figure out how to do front end suspension work, or just most suspension work, that type of stuff. The part tells you what is wrong, so you don't have to diagnose it. You don't have to figure out what's wrong. You can jack your front end up. I have a video on it if you want to see how to do that, but jack your front end up, shake it down, and see actually what's wrong, physically see it, and then change that part, and can look up a tutorial anywhere and figure out how to do it. I mean, most people aren't dumb. They're capable. They just don't have the information because they haven't been doing it. So if you can figure out the part that's wrong, for sure, try to replace it yourself. If you can't, then bring it to me after. But when do you bring it to a mechanic is when you have to figure out what's wrong. So like, let's say you have an issue and you're like, well, I don't know if it's this, I don't know if it's this, I don't know if it's this. Well, it's probably gonna cost you a lot more money to throw a bunch of parts at it, to try to figure it out yourself, or to cost you a lot more time to do all that versus bringing it to me. I'm going to charge you an hour of diagnostics. I'm going to have the answer, and then I'm going to charge you to replace the part. And that's going to be a lot more cost efficient, time efficient for everybody involved. But if, like, let's say, if I'm wrong versus if you're wrong, I diagnose the part, I'm wrong, now I'm eating the cost. Now I have to go back through it, re-diagnose it, re-figure out what's wrong, and then give you a new part to pay for to replace. Versus if you're doing it, that's all on your dime, all the guessing's on your dime, and all the time's on your dime. And if you're not that experienced, you really can wreak havoc on your own vehicle. I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen people try to do things that they weren't capable of or weren't ready for and cause a lot worse issues. An example would be, I had somebody come in with a 2009 Chevy Silverado. They tried doing their manifolds. They snapped like 3 studs off below the head. Made my job a little bit more difficult, obviously. I mean, I'm a Michigan mechanic, so I see it quite often. Studs rust all the time, they break, and you gotta weld them out. I was able to do it, but the customer doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have that knowledge and that years of failing to get there. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I messed up to have to learn these skills. So that's when you break it into the mechanic, is when it's gonna cost you more money to try to fix it yourself than it is to just bring it to me to fix it. And I get it. As a mechanic, I know I'm expensive. All the money from the shop labor rate doesn't go to me. It doesn't go to the shop. It doesn't go to the service writers. You know, it's spread evenly because it's very expensive to run an automotive shop. Margins are low and it is tough. So I understand that it's hard, and I recommend anybody that has the ability to try to prevent maintenance or try to do preventative maintenance on their vehicle, because it will save you money in the long run. It'll save you a lot of trips to see me, the mechanic. It'll save you so much time, and it'll actually help you get familiar with your vehicle to the point where when something does go wrong, you can say, okay, I know what's going on. I can fix this, or I have a good idea. I can try to fix it, or whatever it is. So that would be number 5, when to take it to the mechanic versus when to try to fix it yourself. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. I'm gonna be dropping more videos like this, but please let me know in the comments what you thought about it. If you agree, if you think I'm wrong, if you think I missed something. I'm trying to build a community here, so I love your guys' feedback. And again, thank you so much for watching the video. If you made it this far, you are a real one. Thank you.